Where does the relationship go from here? President Trump seems optimistic that there could be a trade deal made between the two countries. How do you see the relationship between the two?
I think it's going to be very difficult. I think the issue is that in Anglo-Saxon society, policy is you have a very important person like Donald Trump that can change your policy. But in terms of long-term behavior, it's very much determined by a class of people who what they think about the world. I think they still want to dominate the world. The Anglo-Saxon culture is really driven by dominance for the last few hundred years, and these people view China as a potential adversary that could become bigger than the United States. So the issue is the Chinese economy could become 3 times, 4 times as big as the U.S. economy. On that day, a dominance becomes irrelevant, regardless of what you have in some areas, in military, in technology, whatever. But size matters. That's what a U.S. Senator told me a long time ago. He told me that he asked me when Chinese economy would become bigger than the U.S. I said 2022. That was like in 2008. He was so shocked. He told me something better would happen. So this is, I think, a fundamental. It's independent from what any one particular person thinks. I think this confrontation will go all the way. And what China needs to do is just to stay put, to deter the U.S. from doing anything very rash. In terms of complaints, the issue is that globalization is over. The U.S. can do whatever you want to do. You just do whatever you want to do. And China does what it wants to do. So let's live and let live.
So from what you're saying, really, there's no resolution to this, because if the US issue is that it doesn't want to have a competitor economically, it doesn't want to see China get bigger than the US, that battle has already been lost. China is bigger, is going to get even bigger still. There's no way out, really, is there, for the two countries?
Yeah, I think in terms of recognition of reality, Marco Rubio said, this is already a multipolar world. The issue is that there is this grudging recognition that the U.S. cannot make rules for the world anymore. But it doesn't mean the desire is gone. What they're seeing is temporary policies to reduce the U.S.'s cost in terms of in global competition, and they're trying to unwind the Ukraine war, and they're trying to make Russia feel that the United States could be a friend. So in terms of the U.S. the right wing, they've been talking about how to peel Russia away of China for a long time. So what's going on? The main objective is to split Russia away from China, and then they hope that maybe Russia will join the United States in terms of dealing with China. So the Anglo-Saxon, you look at the Anglo-Saxon strategy over the last few centuries, it's always been about leveraging another country to go against the main adversary, and that country will sacrifice lots of lives. So that's what Russia did in terms of the war, Napoleonic War, then in terms of containing Germany and Japan. But I don't think that Russia will go down that path. Russians are very different now. First is that they are not strong like before, and they're pretty. No, they have a lot of challenges. So I think that this strategy is unlikely to work. So the issue is that the U.S. Will have many ideas, try different things. But one thing is that they need to deal with the U.S. internal weaknesses. That is in terms of health expenditure, education, national debt, and so forth. So I think that a lot of people who work for Trump, but they want to deal with these issues first. So what we're going to see is that over the next few years, the U.S. will be less interventionist in the world, even though it will complain a lot. But its desire will not be gone. So let's see if that can solve its internal problems. If that can, then we're going to have a big global confrontation between China and the United States. But if it struggles with its internal challenges, so what we're going to have a world that will feel a little bit unsteady because there are a lot of verbal kind of back and forth going on. But in terms of reality, it's not going to be a high risk world. It's going to be relatively peaceful. And right now, the U.S. is very defensive. The U.S. industry is just not competitive. You look at the U.S. automakers, after 40 years after Japanese hit the market, they're still not competitive. There's something fundamentally wrong with the industrial management in the United States. All these guys have been just talking. So I don't think that the U.S. can solve their industrial competitiveness problem anyway. So and the U.S. wants to be an industrial power. Otherwise, they cannot remain a superpower. So the only way to go about that is to protect its industry. So this is just the beginning. And the U.S. will get less and less engaged in the global trade. So this is where it leaves China out there alone. China has to champion global trade, but China obviously is not such an import-oriented economy. So this is where the Chinese leadership needs to understand that. And now you want a global status, you want people to like you. You have to become more import-oriented, so that the world looks up to you when the U.S. is pulling out. So there are a lot of opportunities and responsibilities coming China's way, and they need to rise up to the challenges.
And do you think they will retaliate against these tariffs?
There will be some retaliation because you cannot stop the United States, because the U.S. is mainly an import-oriented economy right now. They don't export a lot. So the point is to deter Europe from doing what the United States is doing. Europe exports tens of billions of dollars of expensive cars to China, like Porsche, like Ferrari, and China is the most important market for U.S. luxury cars, and it's very important for U.S.'s industrial base. So if Europe does that, like the U.S., impose 100% tariff on Chinese EV, China will add another 100% tariff on U.S. luxury cars. And in terms of cost-benefit analysis, it doesn't work out for Europe. So China can keep Europe engaged. Europe does not want to be a superpower. Europe does not have the natural resources to support a protected industry. It needs to get engaged in the world. So this is where China should both provide incentives and also kind of a stick on both sides to keep Europe engaged. So I think that China is gradually rising to the challenge. It must be the leader in global trade for the system to survive. And it's in China's interest for the system to survive. So you have to really grow up, not just to talk tough. You have to not just to use stick. You have to use carrots. And the China needs to become more import-oriented. In that regard, China needs to appreciate the currency. The only way to make Chinese demand grow much bigger, the currency has to rise. The China, what made in China price is too low. And it does cause imbalance in the world. You need to recognize that. So Chinese currency needs to rise substantially. Well, I think it's not possible for significant improvement because there are fundamental differences. China is developing its military because it believes that it needs a blue water navy to protect its trade. And now the ocean-bound trade is multiple times of the U.S.'s. and an Anglo-Saxon navy dominates the oceans like it has been for 400 years. And China cannot live at the mercy of Anglo-Saxons. So that obviously China wants to develop a global navy capable of protecting its trade.
So this means that
I think that then when the Anglo-Saxons want to accept that, and Beijing is still kind of struggling on why Anglo-Saxons are so vehemently opposed. I think that the Beijing does not understand that Anglo-Saxons' prosperity and security originated with the naval dominance, and they still feel that way. So that is an existential challenge to Anglo-Saxons from their perspective. So I think Beijing still does not understand that yet. So I think that this means that fundamentally we are headed for some kind of a confrontation.
You think so? So this could be something like the South China Sea, maybe, where
much greater. I think that, and you look at how the West screamed about China's military development. It started with Australia. It was way before the pandemic, and I think Australia, obviously, as an Anglo-Saxon country far away, felt the most vulnerable about an alternative naval power. So just like when Japan rose 100 years ago.
But this is
after Japan was the Russian Far East Fleet, and the U.S. started developing this plan, so-called Operation Orange, to defeat Japan. It took 40 years to work out. There's no doubt something like this is happening now.
This is very different, isn't it, to really the West's last, or certainly the US's last set of trade disputes, which was with Japan in the 1980s. At that time, although Japan was a rising power economically and starting to dominate trade, it never wanted to develop a big navy or a military.
I think that the issue, people get confused. No, Japan was never. Japan was an occupied country and still is. So I think the economic dispute was significant, but not like what's going on with China today. China is 10 times the Japan size. It's entirely different. And I think that the Anglo-Saxons want the world to stay this way and to be managed by them, and security guaranteed by them. So China needs to operate within that framework. So I don't see, I think that Chinese didn't appreciate how strongly Anglo-Saxons would react. They thought that China thought that China got bigger. They must have more say in its neighborhood, and it should have a Taiwan back. And obviously, without U.S. backing, Taiwan would negotiate with Beijing for sure. Okay, and that issue will be settled peacefully. So that is the kind of they say we are asking for this. But I think that Beijing didn't understand that East Asia is the center of the global economy, and Anglo-Saxon dominance actually is all about East Asia. Controlling this part of the world means controlling the whole world. So to them, this becomes a global struggle for global domination.
So it sounds like then that the key issues between the two countries remain unresolved and are not going to get resolved.